and what we see for a prediction that might last 1, 2, or even 3 days from yesterday. So again, my name is Daniel. I'm with VantagePoint AI. I'm excited to be here so that we can walk through the details. If you are in this session and you can see my screen and you can hear my voice and everything is working okay for you, do me a favor, just get involved in the chat. I've got the chat pulled up here and I'm keeping an eye on it to make sure that I can provide answers to any questions that may come up in the chat as we go through this session. And I would encourage everybody and anybody to get involved. Get involved in the session, get your questions answered. I'll keep an eye on the chat so that if something does pop up, I'll try to answer it the best that I can. Got a lot of people signed up to watch this session and get into this session, so I want to make sure I give them all a chance to get logged in. So we'll give it just a few minutes to get going here. I've got 11:31 a.m. Eastern time. So, hey James, how's it going? Steven, hello. Cash money, I love it. Like the handle. Hey Scott, glad you're here to check things out. We're going to get going here in just a second. I want to give everybody a chance to get logged in and make sure everything's working. Hey, Barry. Good. Dennis, good morning. Glad you're part of today's session. Sony, hey, good morning. Fantastic. Just trying to get my chat window set up here so we can see everything that's going on. Well, what we're looking at today, my name is Daniel. I'm with VantagePoint AI. I see a lot of new names in here. I'm glad to see those names. If you're a VantagePoint family member and you're already a user of the VantagePoint software, welcome back. I'll be walking through the details of what we're seeing from an overall market standpoint, looking at the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P, Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold. I even have light sweet crude pulled up. I'll walk through the details. Just let me know in the chat if this is something that you are familiar with and you're already a VantagePoint user, a VantagePoint subscriber, a VantagePoint family member. Hey Rick, time is money, absolutely. This is a live session that everybody is here voluntarily, so if you have the time and you want to spend it with me, by all means, please hang around. If not, I'm going too slow for you. You don't have to hang around. I'm glad that you're here. I love that you're here. Just want to make sure everybody gets connected. All right, very good. Hey Ramon, good morning. All right, let's keep on rolling through this. First thing I want to talk about is this week is an important week. Why? The FOMC minutes, the Fed will have a rate decision tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Put that on your calendar. Put that meeting on your calendar tomorrow at 2 p.m. because there's a lot of discussion, a lot of hubbub around interest rates. There's a portion of investors and traders that are expecting rates to stay the same. There's a portion of investors and traders that are expecting somewhat of a rate cut. At a minimum, we're expecting that the Feds stay somewhat hawkish around their delivery of the talk track around interest rates. And that's really what's going to matter at this point, because based on the inflation numbers and what's going on with inflation, I think a lot of strategists are saying that we're not expecting a rate cut. If we get a rate cut, what would we see in the markets? A tremendous move north, a very bullish move right after that announcement. It's a fundamental event, so hopefully everybody here understands that that's one of those things that's very difficult to predict and dig into. We're going to look at what the AI is saying, but understand that 2 p.m. tomorrow, there is a lot of trader sentiment going into the market movements between now and then. Now, if there is no rate cut and rates stay right where they are, but the Fed's talk track is around an earlier rate cut than originally thought, again, you'll see a big move in the markets moving higher. Or a delay in the cut in rates, we'll see the markets drop because there is a lot of trader sentiment tied to that. So let's take a look at the VantagePoint software. I'm going to bring it up right now, and we're just going to walk through what the artificial intelligence was saying at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. For those of you that know, the updates and the information comes out at 6:30 p.m. The night before. So everything that I'm going to be going over here, get my pen going, everything that I'm going to go over came up at 6:30 last night for me and for the VantagePoint users. and we're going to walk through the details of it step by step. I'll add some indicators. Right now we're looking at the 4 points of confirmation with VantagePoint. The 4 points of confirmation are predictive indicators that are created by the artificial intelligence. For those of you that haven't seen this before, let me tell you what I mean really quickly, and then we'll dig into what the forecasts are saying. Is to get a forecast on the Dow, to get a forecast on that index, the artificial intelligence has used a patented process called intermarket analysis to go out and find what is driving and influencing, if you will, the Dow. And in this case, I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show you those intermarkets on the screen right now. There you go. Full transparency, you can see exactly what the AI is suggesting has an influence on the Dow. These are called intermarkets. It's looking at the US dollars, looking at international markets like the Japanese yen, interest rates, right? The 10-year T-note, gold, as well as a host of ETFs, but also NCL, a cruise line, right? This is a great example of where there's a lot of traders out there that will never understand, comprehend, or see that NCL, Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, can influence the price of the Dow moving up or down. That's the benefit of the artificial intelligence, is it can do this level of analysis and find minute hidden patterns and relationships, both linear ones and nonlinear ones, and figure out how they're going to influence the Dow. What I mean is the AI is capable of figuring out whether ProShares Ultra VIX short-term future is going to push the Dow up, sideways, or down, and to what degree of impact. All right, so when I look at this forecast and I work through the details, all of that is already being done. And then the indicators that are being drawn on the screen right here, these are predictive indicators that have been enhanced with that artificial intelligence information. The AI has the ability to forecast 1 to 3 days in advance. 1 to 3 days in advance with accuracy up to 87.4%. So at 6:30 last night, I got all these updated forecasts over here on the right-hand side. And that's what I'm going to walk through today for the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P, Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold, and light sweet crude oil. We're going to walk through all of those right now in this session so that everybody can understand and see what's going on. Hey, Pavel. Yes, you are. You are a VantagePoint family member. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. Good morning. Good morning. All right. So what do we have? We got a blue line on the screen. This is a predicted moving average. This blue line that I'm showing has 3 predictive days included in the formula. If anybody's unsure what I mean by that, if you take a moving average and you say this is today, and you take the last 10 days, right? You add them up and you divide by 10, that gives you the plot of a 10-day simple moving average. Well, if you take that information and you add 3 days of predictive unknown information to that formula, what you end up with is a moving average that is now predictive, hence we call it a predicted moving average. By the way, in case anybody's wondering, those are patented. The intermarket analysis process is patented, and creating those predictive indicators is patented. We hold that patent, and I'm going to teach you how to interpret it and read them today. Claudio, welcome back. Welcome back. AD, hello, hello. Glad you're here. Fantastic. All right. So we've got a blue line that's below the gray line and a shaded area that's red in between those lines. I bet you can guess what the AI sentiment is about that forecast. I zoomed in a little bit so you can see the area is shaded red below that gray line. So that blue line is saying that we could expect some short-term weakness when thinking about the overall trend of the Dow. Short-term weakness in the trend of the Dow. Now we have also a predicted high and a predicted low. VantagePoint, the AI is saying we could see a high all the way up here. Take a look. The predicted high for the day is 39,441. VantagePoint is saying there's a chance that we could see a high up around 39,441. Now, with the fact that the overall trend is expected to be weaker, seeing a high that high is unlikely, but that doesn't mean we couldn't see it on the top half of that bar. You see, in the VantagePoint software, you have the ability to get the predicted high and the predicted low every single day for every asset that's available in the software for the next trade day. So at 6:30 last night, this is what VantagePoint was saying about the Dow expectations, that the trend was expected to float sideways and down a little bit, but we could see a higher high than what we had yesterday. We could also see a lower low. For those of you that are in this session that have some trading experience, when I say the term outside bar, when you see an outside bar or a bar that has a projected higher high or projected lower low at the same time, what does that indicate for you when you think about trend direction? Again, an outside bar where you've got a candle before it, right, that has a high and a low here, and the next day's candle that has a high and a low here. What would that indicate around the price expectations for whatever market you're looking at? And if you don't know, that's okay. If you want to guess, jump into the chat, get involved. If you know, then again, jump into the chat. I'm always interested in hearing your perspective, right? After all, this is education, right? I'm not here to provide trading advice. I'm providing education. Nothing is perfect. The forecasts we're going over have accuracy up to 87.4%. And also just no matter what, just remember, you got to have good money management, right? That's the one thing about trading, because trading is hard. You got to have good money management in place. You got to minimize your downside risk while you maximize your upside potential. Something important, all right? Hey, AD, ranging. I love the way you said it. Sideways, another way to say it. Consolidation, another way to say it. Yeah, you're exactly right. Thank you for getting involved as well. When you see an outside bar like that, whether it's a predicted bar or a regular bar, it's indicating that there is some potential ranging expected to happen. The same thing with an inside bar, depending on what that bar looks like. That's a reality of how price action moves. Uncertainty, I love it, Dennis. Another great way to say that. So what we're seeing is a potential higher high with a ranging kind of day, which means I wouldn't expect it to break through that high or even get to that high, but I could see it on the top half of this candle so far. Now, from a trend strength standpoint, this is the predicted neural index. This is predicting the strength of the trend from a price standpoint. And this is saying that there's not a whole lot of strength going. Matter of fact, more bearishness than anything. So you can see when the artificial intelligence is creating predictive indicators and they're calculated independent of one another, it's going to give you an artificial intelligence sentiment around the direction of that asset, either up, down, or sideways. There's three ways the markets can move, and you can make money in all three ways. If you're not sure about how to make money in all three ways of those, and you've got some questions, or if you want help understanding when the market is expected to move in one of those three directions, and you've got some questions, go to VantagePointForecast.com, and we'd be happy to answer your questions one-on-one. But because the market, again, that's VantagePointForecast.com, we'll put it in the chat, but because the market moves either up, sideways, or down, interpreting these predictive indicators one by one and then compiling them together to get an artificial intelligence sentiment of the market is very, very valuable, especially when the forecasts are that accurate, right? Trivian, I see your question. Does AI give you stop levels and price targets? Well, Trivian, that's one of the great things about the software is it certainly can. It's telling you what the market is expected to do. So if you think about it, if you're long a certain opportunity, right, and you've got a predicted low of the next trading day, you know you've got a stop level point to put your stop loss. If you're short that opportunity and you're looking to take profit, you can use that same level as a target. So although VantagePoint isn't going to tell you where to get in and where to get out, it's telling you the direction the trend is expected to go and the expected price movements of the next trade day. We have a lot of traders that use that for stop losses, setting targets, managing risk, finding better entries, finding better exits. That's matter of fact what we've been helping traders do with this technology for 30, what are we in? We're in 2024, so 33 years, folks. 33 years using artificial intelligence technology like this to do what you were asking about, Trivian. Thank you for that question. All right, so we've got ranging and consolidation. That means we've got sideways expectation, potentially a little bit higher high than yesterday, with a little bit of weakness in that overall trend. So again, more ranging and more consolidation. Here are our momentum indicators down here at the bottom. These are predicted momentum indicators and they're oscillators. So you basically are looking for lower highs, higher lows. You're looking for some movements in that line. I like to look at the the highs and see if I've got lower highs happening. I like to look whether or not the price now is where it was 5 days ago. And right now, what we're seeing is a lot of consolidation. You can see we are down from the momentum of this big uptrend. Matter of fact, that momentum from the beginning of this big uptrend is more bearish than anything. Since this short-term crossover happened, our momentum is pretty much sideways since VantagePoint indicated major ranging, even some weakness. So all in all, from a Dow standpoint, the artificial intelligence is staying between now and the Fed announcement. We're seeing more ranging and more consolidation. But we're not going to stop there. We're not going to stop there. But give me a second here. I need to make sure that our Facebook stream is going. If you're on Facebook and everything is working from your standpoint, hop into the chat. Hop into the live chat and let me know everything is working on your side so I can see your comments. I want to make sure that if there's a comment in there that I don't miss it. So I'm just taking a look to see if I've got any of those comments going on here. I don't see any at this point. I know my team will keep a great eye on those for us. All right, let's layer on some support and resistance, because if anybody is a student of price, you know that there are going to be hints in support and resistance. In the VantagePoint software, we have verified support and resistance zones, which are drawn for you with the software. If you're not a user of the software already, this is an indicator that you would have to develop into. It's not something that brand new users would use or get access to, but I like to show it so that people understand that when you layer on predictive information from artificial intelligence and you take that AI sentiment and you combine it with support and resistance and other non-redundant studies like seasonality, like professional sentiment, like electronic market accumulation, I said support and resistance already, other momentum type indicators, you can give yourself a really good assessment. And we're going to do that today of what's expected to happen. We're going to walk through all these indicators. And you can see we've got a resistance point up here, and we've got a couple of support points down here. But more importantly, what I see, and I'm gonna make a real fat line here so that everybody can see what I mean, is I see a channel very clearly formed right there. And we entered into that channel in the middle of February, and we haven't left that channel since. And you can see we've been banging around and testing and retesting these support and resistance points ever since the beginning of February. We've been range bound. Heck, we could even go back. If I highlighted that entire channel, you'd see how long price has been testing these different support points and failing off of them, and these different resistance points and failing off of them. We are not in any different type of situation. The artificial intelligence is saying we are expecting price to stay right in the dead center of that channel and no real crazy movements from there. Now, this is important because if I pull this chart back to say 9 months or something like that, you can see what I'm talking about. You can see that when we entered that channel till now, there has not been a huge change in price. We can certainly see a big move up from the end of the year to beginning of February, but since February, we are in this sideways channel. And that's an important fact when we're digging into the markets to say what's expected to happen. Let me zoom in a little bit further for us so we can go back to the recent forecasts. The other thing that's interesting from a support and resistance standpoint is when I put the 52-week high indicator on this market, like we did before, we'd see that this 223 date is a 52-week high, which means there is a very strong level of resistance up there. The artificial intelligence isn't forecasting enough momentum. It isn't forecasting enough strength to break through that 52-week high. So that consolidation is here to stay, especially over the next few days until the announcement comes out. 2 p.m. tomorrow, again, this could change based on how hawkish the Fed is, based on what the talk track is related to interest rates, and based on whether or not the interest rates even change. You know, I think a lot of people are speculating that the interest rates are not going to change, right? A lot of speculation around that. That's important, but what's more important is what they actually say, right? What the FOMC, what the Fed actually says, what Powell says related to what's going on with future rate cuts. Now, we can also go a step further and we can add some other indicators in here. I know a lot of traders out there like to use percent R or MACD or RSI. We have those indicators in the VantagePoint software. They are predictive indicators, and you can see they are also indicating consolidation. Look, momentum is at the same place it was back here, the same point it touched way back here. So although we're getting slightly lower highs, we've got a basis formed on this momentum indicator. Same thing here. We've got basis formed on these momentum indicators that show momentum is not really going anywhere right now in the Dow, which indicates more consolidation, ranging sideways movement, right? That doesn't mean it couldn't be an up day, doesn't mean it couldn't be a down day. As a matter of fact, VantagePoint is forecasting somewhat of some strength up there, and that's something that's got to be considered. We could see that price on the Dow go higher because a range is still a range. There will be up days and down days within that range as it tests both those support and resistance levels. As you can see, has been happening since the beginning of February. The artificial intelligence is saying expect more of the same. From a NASDAQ standpoint, let's zoom in on the NASDAQ a bit, and you can see right over here on the right-hand side of the chart, we got a fresh cross to the downside in the NASDAQ last week. So the artificial intelligence in VantagePoint said you can expect some pullback on the NQ, and you can expect that pullback to happen, and even you could even see prices down around 18,156, 18,156 and lower. The predicted low was 18,160. So no matter how you slice it, the artificial intelligence gave us a clear projection that we could see the NASDAQ trend continue to go down and even go down to 18,150 for easy numbers, right? None of that would be suspicious or unexpected, especially since the AI also said that momentum is peeling off of this bullish trend drastically. You can see from this 52-week high, momentum has been constantly peeling off of this. Look, if you look up here and you see this 52-week high, and you see the overall trend of price going down, and you see momentum, predicted momentum going down and creating lower highs, that certainly confirms that the AI is saying bearishness with a predicted low around 18,150, 18,160. Nothing about that movement would be surprising today at this point, which means some of those technology stocks that have been doing very well, we'd expect a pullback. The AI is saying expect a pullback in the tech sector, expect a pullback in things, especially when NVIDIA starts to pull back. You see other things like SMCI, they got hammered today, pull back. All of that was predicted with the artificial intelligence. Not necessarily the why, but the fact that you could expect a move lower. A move lower. And if you know you can expect a move lower, it's safe to say you'd know what to do with that information day in and day out. It was very clear when looking at the forecast for the NQ. And I'm going to pull up, as a matter of fact, I'm going to put on verified support and resistance on this as well, so that you can see that channeling that we were talking about back on the Dow is also very clear and prominent on the NASDAQ. Now, it hasn't been as long, if you will. You can see that that channel kind of entered here towards the middle end of February, and it's been in that channel right along, right? Got into the channel, tested the low, tested the high, failed, tested the low, failed, tested the high, failed, tested the low, failed, tested the high, failed. You get my point. You can see how that channel works. VantagePoint is indicating more of the same. As a matter of fact, there is a strong resistance level right down here at 18,130, and another one that's been supported by a couple of resistance points at 18,074, right in that range. So what that means is the artificial intelligence has indicated bearishness, and we've got some levels to be on the lookout for from a target standpoint between now and, of course, the Fed announcement. The reason I'm saying the Fed announcement is so important is because I don't care what tools you're using, what information you're using, that is a fundamental event that, depending on the words that are said, can cause the market to go one way or another. And I don't care who you are, nobody can predict around that. People will speculate. People will share their opinions, educate on how to read that information, but the real result won't be known until about 2 p.m. and 2 minutes, right? When those words start to come out related to that discussion from FOMC. But what VantagePoint is saying is we can expect lower lows in the NASDAQ, and we've got a couple of levels to be on the lookout as we move forward further into this market. Here's the S&P 500. Now, the S&P 500 has been the strongest trending market out of all three indices that we're looking at today. Excuse me. I'm going to get a quick drink here. Thank you, thank you. If you've just joined this session, welcome. We're walking through what the artificial intelligence forecasts are saying about the indices, and we're going to keep on going through more of these forecasts, like on Bitcoin, like on Ethereum. You can see there's more on the screen that we're going to dig into. But when we stop and we look at this, we can see that, for instance, the S&P was forecasted to go up back on January 18th after a moment of consolidation. This is a consolidation moment I'm talking about, a channel it got into, and then VantagePoint forecasted a break out of that channel, and it did that, and it just kept on going ever since. Well, what does VantagePoint say now, right? That's why you're here. Let's take a look. Of the three indices we're looking at, hey, Barbaro, thank you for joining. Of the three indices that we're looking at, this one has been the strongest, and this one also is predicting a lower high and a higher low. That would be an inside bar or an inside candle. What does price action or price profile say when you see an inside candle? What kind of price expectation do you get from that pattern? Hop it in the chat box right now, answer that question. And I've got a heart for anybody that answers that question, or a smiley face. I'll send a little icon your way, a little emoji, so that you know we got it and you got the right answer, because at the end of the day, if you're here to learn, my assessment is get involved, you learn better, right? Hey, Ian, yep, glad you're here. Absolutely, absolutely. Inside bar expectation. Now, this is a predicted inside bar. Thanks for the suggestion, Scott. Scott says a possible reversal. Well, an inside bar means you have a low that is lower than the previous day, and in this case, it's a predicted low. Excuse me, a high that is lower than the previous day, that's an inside bar, and a low that is higher than the previous day, that would make an inside bar. That kind of setup stands also for consolidation and sideways move, right? I don't have a situation where the bar is up here, that would indicate major bullishness, or a predicted bar that's down here, that would indicate major bearishness. In this case, I have an inside bar and more expected consolidation. Now, my blue line is above my gray line. The shaded area is green. So when I combine these two, this says trend bullish, price on the next day consolidated. So we could see prices right to the top half of that inside bar. Let's take a look. VantagePoint forecasted a midpoint of 52.14, 52.14 right now for the ES. You can see right here at 6:30 last night, VantagePoint forecasted a midpoint right here of 52.14. Can anybody tell me where the ES is right now? I need to go look. Let me see if I can pull it up over here. See if anybody's quick on the draw in the chat. I don't see it. The ES currently trading at 52.14. Right? VantagePoint predicted the mid size of that bar was 52.14. Inside candle indicates some consolidation expectations. Overall trend still expected to be bullish over the next few days, but today sideways. And it's exactly where VantagePoint forecast for midpoint. I'm not saying that happens all the time, but could you imagine having that in your bailiwick, in your quiver, right? Now we got at 52.60, so we're getting some things moving around there. Perfect, good. Then we're in the right place at the right time. 52.1375, so I'm getting a little bit of movement right there in the middle of that bar, even to the high side of that bar. We can see the ES move with that. I'm looking at ESM 24 in case anybody's wondering about the contract month, right? So I'm looking specifically at that contract month. Let's keep on rolling through this. Strength from the neural index. That predicted neural index is indicating strength. Nanya, same question. What is 5160? I don't know what 5160 is. I'm not seeing that anywhere, but that's okay. Let's keep it rolling. I'll put a pink line right where VantagePoint expects it to be, where that trend is expected to be. There's some short-term strength in that trend. And we got momentum peeling off. Look at this. Lower highs, lower highs. With momentum peeling off and bullish strength expectation, again, these indicators are not in agreement. This is how powerful the AI sentiment is to me, folks. I love this information. If you can't tell, I really enjoy reading the VantagePoint software, and what this is telling me is I'm expecting some strength here, but some weakness here. What does that mean? Sideways. They kind of cancel each other out, right? And that's one of the things that's so valuable to understand, is that when you stop and you think about the fact that these indicators are calculated independently, they're predictive indicators and they're generated from the AI, and they don't always agree, well, that tells you when they all agree, it's powerful. When they don't agree, it's equally powerful. Why? Because the market moves three ways: up, down, and sideways, okay? Up, down, and sideways. And what this is saying, expect some sideways movement based on what the AI has predicted here, and we're expecting that, and you can see that. Here's Bitcoin, right? Look at Bitcoin. Check this out. VantagePoint forecasted last week profit taking in Bitcoin. Last week, right? As you can see, the date says 5/16 on my chart. This is after a really great forecast down here that never changed direction until 5/16. The AI said Bitcoin's expected to change direction and start going down. And check this out. Here's how you read the indicators. Bearish cross to the downside. The predicted high and predicted low were down as well. Neural index red, that's down. And at that point, these momentum indicators were creating lower highs going into that and pointed down. So we had our 4 points of confirmation. We had 7 predictive indicators on Bitcoin saying uptrend has come to an end, expecting a downtrend on 3/15. Today is 3/19. Where is Bitcoin right now today? Bitcoin is 64,047 right now, 64,000. So Bitcoin is here. I'm going to drop a line right where I can, 64,032. I'm going to program that line right there, that point. Put it on the chart so you can see that is where Bitcoin roughly is right now. It moves pretty quickly, but you get the point. Answer me this. Riddle me this, Batman. Had you known that Bitcoin was expected to drop, and all of the indicators agreed that Bitcoin was expected to drop on the 15th of March, could you have used that information to create a really great short position to the point that it is at right now? Yeah, that's about a 6.5% peel off that could have been avoided had you been using that kind of information. So when I say I love how these forecasts work, it's a really, really great view. Yeah, this is a 3-month view. Let me see what the question is. These are daily charts, so it's end of day data, and we're looking at a 3-month view, Emmett. All end of day data, right? Let's see. Yeah, Emmett says I would have bought puts. I don't know if you did or you didn't, but that's the answer to the question. Had you had that information on the 15th, and you could have seen that that was the expectation, and all the predictive indicators agreed, I don't care how you slice it, that is very, very valuable information. So, all right, let's keep on moving through this, because I think this is showing, opening a lot of eyes to what's expected. Now, what could happen with Bitcoin based on the Fed meeting? Well, VantagePoint is forecasting more weakness at this point for today, for tomorrow, into that Fed meeting. If the Fed meeting turns a trader sentiment negative, people will shift into gold, they'll shift into Bitcoin, and we could see a push higher. If that trader sentiment is very positive about it, people will put more money into the stock market and likely to take money out of crypto and gold. So expect that kind of movement, all right? Ethereum, look at this one. And this one is even more substantial. Ethereum, VantagePoint forecasted that you could see Ethereum down in that 34,000 range and even further, but more importantly, got a forecast of the downside right on that crossover 314. Look at this. Blue line crossed below. Neural index red. Predictive differences pointed down. A lower high and lower low projected today. We got a ton of bearishness on Ethereum. Where is it currently? Let me see. Let me pull it up over here. Okay, 33,005. So let's pop it in there. Put this line at 33,005. That's where Ethereum currently is. That means from the point of that forecast to where prices currently are in ETH, that's a 14% drawdown. That is a substantial move to the downside. On top of a very valuable forecast to the upside, folks. Look at that. 65%. From the time that VantagePoint indicated this trend was expected to move higher to the time that VantagePoint indicated this trend was expected to reverse, 65% to the upside. Valuable forecast there. So from a cryptocurrency standpoint, it's pretty easy to see what's going on, and it's pretty easy to see how VantagePoint and the artificial intelligence in VantagePoint forecasted that move lower, right? Here's gold. A lot of traders like to short-term trade gold. I got my one-day forecast on here. This is the one-day trend forecast. This is the fastest moving forecast you're going to get in the VantagePoint software, and VantagePoint forecasted gold down virtually at the top. I'm never looking for tops and bottoms, but you can see at the open of this day, 2179.50, VantagePoint was already indicating some bearishness. At a minimum, you can see that by the end of that day, where it closed at 2167. There was, at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time on this day, all of the predictive indicators on the one-day forecast agreed. There was bearishness in gold expected, right? The top of that market in gold was there, and there was an opportunity to take some profits off of gold, lock in those gains, because this forecast was a very, very powerful forecast. Somebody asked the question earlier, does it predict stop losses and take profits and all of that? Look at that move. One contract could have produced a hypothetical gain of about 14,000 bucks. Now, I said hypothetical because I'm showing you the trend now historically, right? But you can see how accurate the forecast was. Even if I look at the 3-day forecast, if I kick this out to the 3-day forecast, you can see that there is some major consolidation happening. If you're one of those traders that's willing to accept some drawdown and hold on and wait, you can see that you've got some major consolidation, some major channeling going on, weakness working itself in, and you got to be on the lookout for a major drop. So your risk tolerances are your risk tolerances, and your trade plan is your trade plan. I'd say, in my opinion, use your trade plan to make your decisions, and use the artificial intelligence and VantagePoint to help you strengthen that trade plan. But that's just me. Here's light sweet crude oil. Very short term forecast on light sweet crude oil. Again, we're looking at the one-day predictions. On 3/13, VantagePoint forecasted this up. I love to look at crude oil on the one-day forecast because there's some really great gains to be made in both of these markets from a day trading standpoint or a short-term swing trading standpoint. And you can see VantagePoint forecasted light sweet crude oil to move higher. Now we're getting our API information on crude oil, I think later today or tomorrow. I don't remember the exact date, but the last print of that information said that supply was down. That will help when demand is up, push prices higher. What VantagePoint is saying, we're expecting more of the same and crude oil to be higher based on this information from the artificial intelligence. We can put the momentum indicators on there. We can put the support and resistance indicators on there. Here's MACD, here's RSI, here's a predicted percent R, and you can see all the way through this, we've got bullishness, 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 bullishness. Our predictive indicators are in agreement. We're getting bullishness across the board, saying light sweet crude oil floating higher today as expected from the forecast last night. And I covered a lot of information very quickly. The idea behind this is to show you what the AI is forecasting, and you can see we're getting sideways on the Dow, sideways on the NASDAQ, sideways on the S&P, bearish on Bitcoin, bearish on Ethereum, gold sideways to bearish, and light sweet crude oil higher. I drew those lines at the top of the chart just so you can see right off the name. There you go. I'll turn them into arrows. Maybe that'll help. There we go. Now you've got the literal forecast from the artificial intelligence that came out last night, read by me, walking through the details so that everybody can understand how this information can help. All right. Hopefully this has been valuable information for you. Somebody was asking for a link. I'll pop that up real quick. We'll take a look at that from a cryptocurrency standpoint. Barbara, you can see Major bearishness right there in Link. I haven't looked at Chainlink to see what's going on with it right now in the markets, but what VantagePoint is saying is that we could see a high on Chainlink of 1924, a high of 1924. Let me go look and see if I can find something related to that. Where is it at right now? 17,883. The high of the day was 18.5. VantagePoint forecasted a low of 17,446. So check this out. Was it Barbara? Who was asking about Link? Yeah. Check this out, Barbara. I zoom in on this and you can see the forecast last night at 6:30 said you can expect this to go down. You got an inside bar prediction. That means we're expecting things in the bottom half of this prediction, momentum peeling off. So at 6:30 last night, VantagePoint said Link is expected to move lower. It is moving lower, and the trend has just started to the downside. So something to be on the lookout for. Thanks for asking. If you're in this session either on Facebook or on YouTube, I want to say thank you for spending the time with me. We did one of these sessions last week. We'll do another one in the next couple of weeks. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. If you haven't liked our Facebook page, hit that now so that you can get notified when these live events come up, and we'll just do more market analysis. I tell you what, if there's something specific that you want to dig into, a certain market or an asset you'd like to dig into in advance, and you want to comment that on our YouTube channel or Facebook, we will collect that information, and I'll try to do that in a future session. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for letting me give you the view from my vantage point. Scott, I see your question around a link for pricing. Scott, just go to VantagePointForecast.com and we can answer any questions you'd like to have there. I don't offer the software for sale in this session. This is a live session for analysis. So have a good day, everybody. Thank you.